All right, Nathan. Let's make a plan to schedule our schedule.
I actually have quite a bit going on today. Could we schedule a time to schedule our schedule?
No. We're planning to schedule our schedule.
We need to schedule our schedule.
Let's get into that. Hey y'all, I'm Andrea Warnock.
I'm Nate Warnock.
And you joined us for Marriage Monday on the Marriage by Design podcast. Welcome back after our Christmas break that we took for a couple weeks. So
that's right.
Thanks for hanging on, and welcome back to the new year. Hope you guys had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That's right. And you know it's winter because, as you might be able to see down in the corner if you're watching on YouTube, Andrea has a blanket on. It's not because she's not wearing pants. She probably
I'm
is.
wearing pants.
But yeah, it's cold out, y'all. But yeah, we had a great Christmas.
To be honest, I would be wearing a blanket in July.
Fair point.
I'm always cold.
It's good. So how was your holidays, babe?
They were great.
Good.
We got to see all of our families.
Yeah, we did.
All of our immediate families.
Great.
And that was wonderful. And school took a break, and I live for school breaks, so
it's great.
It was great.
Yeah, it was good. All around good. Yeah, it was great. Lots of fun and good laughs, and got to see family.
It
and
always goes by too quickly.
About to be an aunt and uncle on my family side for the first time.
I know.
So
exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
So in this episode, we're talking about we're continuing on in. Last month, we were talking a lot about year in review and then how to plan for the next year.
That's right.
So this episode, we're talking about how to plan our schedule for the whole year in advance.
Right. So we first talked about why even do planning at all. And we started by talking about reviewing the previous year so you kind of know where you've been. Then we talked a little bit about planning for next year. And then there were a couple topics we wanted to dive into specifically. So one was finances. That video came out a couple weeks ago before the holidays. We wanted to wrap up that series today with a little discussion of planning our plan.
Yes, right. So what's the importance of doing that? Why should you, in your whole planning for the next year, why should you plan your schedule like the whole year in advance? Well, we've found that it's really important so that we are meeting our goals, so that our lives aren't getting the best of us,
right.
So that our schedule isn't just consuming us and we aren't really telling our schedule what to do. So we have just found that if we're not intentional, and that's a word we constantly use, but if we're not intentional and making plans and really doing the thing, really, really taking the time to plan it out, time gets away from us, just like money gets away from you if you don't budget really carefully. And then we get to the end of the year and we're like, oh man, we didn't spend as much time with friends as we wanted to, or we didn't spend as much time just the two of us as we wanted to, and it just got away from us.
Yeah, I mean, really, that was why we wanted to talk about finances and time as separate videos, because really for both those, it's the same way. If you don't pay attention to your money, you find it's just disappearing out of your account. And you want to be really intentional to make sure that it's going where you want it to go and not just going places. In some ways, time's even worse. Because time's literally, like your money, when we say it's disappearing, well, it's disappearing because you're spending it on things. You're just not paying attention to what you're spending it on. You realize you've spent it on silliness.
Time is the same thing, though.
But time's worse, right? I mean, you can't, time's just gone. It doesn't matter if you're thinking about it, sleeping, sitting, working. It doesn't matter. It's walking by as we go through. And so, man, we want to be all the more diligent about paying attention to where our time's going.
Right. Yeah, so today we want to talk to you a little bit about what the Bible has to say about time.
Yeah.
And then talking about how we plan our schedules yearly, monthly, weekly. And then just some tricks or some tools that you can use along the way.
Right. So first of all, what's this Bible thing you speak of?
Right. So there's quite a bit in the Bible actually that talks about time and in reference to different things. But a couple of the verses that I want to talk about are, so in Psalm 90:12, it says, "Teach us to number our days so that we may get a heart of wisdom." And just always keeping in mind that time is, like you were saying, there's a number that it's not infinite. We don't get an infinite amount of time.
Right.
It's numbered, and we want to use that wisely. So, and then all over the Bible talks about order, right? Our God is a God of order. And 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, "But all things should be done decently and in order."
Right.
And that's such an important pillar of the Bible is order. And so we find that to be an important part of our lives too, is really having order. That has to do with our schedule too, and really having a plan for that, making sure that we're allowing time for rest and time for doing the things that the Lord has asked us to, and not just trying to cobble things together when it happens,
Really interesting. If you flip open to Genesis, obviously prior to creation, there wasn't, because God's outside of time, right? God's an infinite being. Yet in the very beginning, it wasn't just that God created, he created on a schedule, right? He did things on the first day, second day, third day, fourth day. He had a plan ahead of time, and he executed that plan in his timing. Really interesting, because for God, timing, the passage of time is not something that's a part of who he is. He's outside of time, omnipresent and omniscient.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. So then Proverbs 16:9 says, "For the heart of a man schedules his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." So it's just we are always keeping in mind, we have this schedule set, but we're also, a lot of our schedule is based on us asking the Lord, what do you have for our lives? What should be important for our family? What should be important for us as a couple? We want you to set our schedule. So, so we try to be careful with that too, of not just saying our time is all our own and we get to schedule it all, but really saying our lives and our time is given to us by the Lord, and we want to give back a lot of that.
Yeah, that's a criticism we've gotten in the past with regards to our calendar, because as we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, we're very calendar-based people. Everything goes on there, so we know what we're going to do, what we're doing, and what we've done. And, criticism of that is, well, you can get so scheduled that, what if the Holy Spirit wants brings something up, or the Lord sovereignly puts people in your path and wants you to do something. And my answer to that's always, you have to decide what are the major things in your life. And if you can decide for yourself, hey, this is our schedule that we have, but as the Lord leads, I'll go. And if that means, I've got this meeting, or I've got this thing I'm planning on doing, and sovereignly this other situation comes up, or this person gets put in my life, or somebody calls, or whatever, am I willing to drop that schedule to do something that's brought up? And the answer for us genuinely is yes.
Sure.
And we have done that.
Yep.
But to just leave open space in your schedule for maybe the Lord will want to do something, is just not something we've found to be what we're called to do.
But we also have a lot of open space in our schedule that's meant for...
I would say intentionally open space.
That's meant for not having anything going on. Not always being running here and there.
Right.
And meant for rest. We've talked about that in the past. We do a lot to protect our rest as a family. And...
as individuals.
Right. And so we have a lot of open space in our schedule that's not really meant to be filled up, but can be if the Lord wants us to.
That's right.
So... we're going to talk about first yearly. How do you plan your schedule for the whole year? How does that make any sense? Well, there are some things that we've found are really important to set out for the whole year. So one of those things is going back to your family pillars and your goals as a family and as a couple and as an individual.
Yeah.
Going back to those things and saying, okay, what of those things are schedule items, and what do we need to put into our schedule?
Right.
So what's one example you can think of, from a family goal or a pillar or whatever?
Having family dinners together.
Right.
That's something we've talked about. Being able to connect as a family, and putting those, in the calendar. And, there are times in the year when we don't necessarily put family dinner in the calendar. But there are times in the year, particularly I think of like baseball season and things like that, where we might, because we have a goal of having dinner together as a family more nights than we don't. And sometimes that means we have to be intentional about putting those on there so that maybe we turn down dinner with your parents or dinner with my parents for having, a family dinner because that's something that's important to us.
Right. Yeah, and as we look at our schedule for the year, we can look at, are we, this week, wow, there's a lot going on this week and this 1 week, and maybe that needs to happen. So then the next few weeks, we just will choose to not have very much going on so that we can really catch up kind of on that sort of thing. So making sure that you're looking at your pillars and your goals and all that, and pulling out those schedule items and putting them in your schedule. So one of our boulders, something that's really important for Nathan and me, is to have a date night every week. And that doesn't look like we're not going out every week, but that's once we put our kids...
Steakhouse once a week.
All right, that'd be great. Once we put our kids to bed, I don't know how we put
Once
them
we
together.
put our kids together.
Once we put them to bed, then we have one night a week that we have dedicated to just spend the two of us doing whatever we need to do. Actually, the first part of that is spent on a quick budget meeting and a quick schedule meeting.
Right.
And then, and we talk real quick about podcast. And then the rest of the time is spent maybe...
Workbench.
Oh my gosh. Maybe playing, maybe having some workbench time.
It's an inside joke.
It is.
Dad, if you're listening, you know.
Right. It's code for sex. Or
now it's not an inside joke anymore.
Well, or we play a board game, or sometimes we maybe watch a movie together.
Yeah.
Or we
Fun.
have
we chill out
some
together
deep
as
conversation
friends.
or whatever. We just enjoy time, as friends, as a couple, whatever.
Right, this is not schedule related, but man, I would still encourage that. Like, there's somebody watching this podcast right now that needs to be reminded to pursue friendship with your spouse, because that's really easy to let that slide. Don't do it. It's hard to be married as a married couple, but it's particularly hard to be a married couple if you let the friendship piece of between you and your spouse flitter away. So don't do that. Yep. Right? Have fun together, play games. That's how you get inside jokes and things like that. From those nights where you play a game and you say something and you laugh and it becomes an inside joke. And those things are great between you and your spouse. Benefits your family, benefits you as a couple. Right. So don't make that a boulder in your life.
Yep. So another thing you can be talking about in this yearly planning is activities. If your kids are involved in activities and you have a dance recital, or you have state tournament or whatever, you can put those on your calendar so that it's already blocked off. And then maybe that's the time too to let your extended family know of when those dates are coming up and when they can block things off on their calendar too.
Yeah, depending on how you do it too, and we'll talk about practical tips here in a minute, but you can share some of those calendars with your family too if you have them segmented off, right? Your family is not going to probably care to see when you're getting your herded and your date nights and all that kind of stuff. But if you have a sporting event calendar or whatever, to be able to share that, make technology work for you.
Right. Then maybe your vacations is something you want to talk about. You can rough in vacations, or maybe the beginning of the year is the time to plan it all.
Yeah.
So for us, we really more kind of rough in our vacations that are further out in the year, like month, and then a little bit further on in the year we'll plan those out specifically. Right,
but we're talking about planning for the upcoming year, the yearly part of it, right?
Yes.
And excuse me, the beginning of the year or the end of the year, whenever you do this planning, is an important part to talk about what you're planning to do for vacations from a 10,000 foot view, because tons of couples that we talk to, a huge sticking point is vacation summertime comes around And he just assumes, well, we're going to do vacation with my family. And she just assumes, well, we're going to do vacation with my family. And the vacations either overlap, or maybe you don't have money to do both and do your own family vacation. I'm a huge believer in doing a family vacation, you and
Just
your
nuclear
family.
Yep.
Even if that's, going and getting a hotel with a water park that's just downtown.
Or-
right? And just getting away for a day or two, but I think that's important.
My family didn't have tons of money to be spending on elaborate vacations when I was younger. We went camping a lot, and it was super fun and a great way to not spend a lot of money.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
it's a great vacation too.
Totally. But the point is, talk about these things, right? Don't wait until vacation season and now you're in a huge fight because it's one or the other of you's committed to stuff that you maybe aren't going to be able to
Yep,
do. So
that's a
talk
great
about
point.
those things now.
Yep. So another thing in this yearly hobbies. So if you guys have hobbies that are important to you, you might need to schedule some time. Like if one of you is wanting to do a half marathon in September, you need to schedule the time to do your runs. So scheduling those hobby things, or maybe one of you, like Nathan, loves to play board games with friends, and you need to schedule that time out.
You know who you are. Yeah, this is a good time, babe, for us to talk about, and we've shared this before, but it's a good reminder for people that may not have heard it before or don't remember. If your spouse is running a half marathon, you're running a half marathon, right? And I don't mean you're physically running it. I mean, as a couple, you're one. Right. And we need to be better about, in our mind, actually setting that as a reality, right? We are one. Mm-hmm. So if my spouse is running a half marathon in September, and when she gets that medal, I get that medal, and I don't even have to run.
Hey, that's the best way to do it.
But what that means is that I sacrifice, my running the marathon is taking point on getting the kids ready for bed so that she can go and do her run, or getting the kids up in the morning so she can go do her run or whatever. But now's the time to talk about some of those things. When we talk about year-end planning or a year-end review and planning for the next year, these are the things we're talking about.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you've got in your head, hey, I'd really love to run a marathon in September, man, now's the time, right? Don't wait until March when you need to start doing runs and just drop the bomb, right? When you get home from work and go, hey, I'm going to start running for an hour and a half every day for the next 6 months.
Yikes.
Right? I mean, you gotta talk through these things as a couple, get on the same page. But if you're not the one that's doing that activity, recognize, when she says, hey, do you mind if what do you think about me running a half marathon? Or he says that in September, it's not like, well, I don't care, you do whatever you want, right? You own that. Right? Yeah, let's do it. What can I do to support you?
Yeah. And encourage them and all that too.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've got a husband that loves board games, ask yourself, how can we play more board games every day, every night for hours? That's the thing to ask.
Clearly, that's what I need to be asking.
Obviously.
Okay, so then birthday parties for kids. This is maybe the time to talk about that and plan those things out.
Are you going to have a party? Are you not going to have a party? Particularly if you have multiple kids. The one whose birthday is in October is not going to forget what you did for the one whose birthday is in February. So start talking now about how much time do we want to put into that? What can we afford? We for our family decided no friend birthday parties until the kids are 6. So the first 5 birthdays that our kids have are just family events. They know it. They know what to expect.
Yep.
And then, after that, we do something different. So.
Right. Talk about family holidays. What holidays are we spending where? Put that in your schedule.
Yep.
Or rough it out if you don't know the exact dates for some things. And then maybe something that you want to do as a family too is do some service projects together. So maybe you're mapping out, you're deciding when are we going to do that, what are we going to do, or you're just saying, I know that in May and October we're going to want to do some service projects, so let's put that in there as some tentative things, and as that gets closer we'll get more details. But just being able to say these are the months. Maybe that's what you're doing in your yearly planning.
Right. Are these going to be couple things? Are they going to be family things?
Yep.
If they're going to be, if it's something maybe Andrea feels called to do, what do I need to be ready to do just to support her in that role as far as with the kids and that type of thing. If it's something we're going to do as a couple, when are we going to do this service project, or if it's something that has scheduled regularities, what are we going to do with the kids as far as that goes? All these things. The whole purpose of this, guys, is so that you relieve that stress of last minute planning. Right. It's not just the losing time piece of it. It's the stress of things that creep up.
Right. Or dropping bombs.
That's right. I mean, that's a huge stumbling block for tons of couples, including Andrea and I from time to time, is when I schedule something, and of course I mean to tell her right away about it, and then you forget, and now it's in like a day or two, and I'm like, oh yeah, and also people are coming over tomorrow.
We have a friend that just did that.
Just trying not to out him.
Hey, I'm not saying his name.
Right, but I've done that. I mean, I've done that.
Sure.
And yeah, it can be a huge stumbling block for couples, and fairly so, right? I mean, it isn't right to drop something like that on, our spouse a day before something like that's going to happen. So planning these things out, it relieves some of that stress, right? We were talking about service projects. We're coming up on a service project for you and I. Pop up in the calendar. Great, we have a babysitter. This is who's coming over. This is when they're coming over. I'll firm it up with them, but it's all already been planned. No stress.
Right. Yep. Okay, so that's the yearly. And then the next thing that we're going to talk about is the monthly. And this all may sound like crazy. You guys talk about a yearly schedule, and then you're going to talk about it monthly, and then you're going to talk about it weekly. But once you get that yearly schedule put in, the monthly and weekly are quick.
A little fine-tuning.
Yep, they're quick.
Things. Yep.
Usually. So monthly, talk about, okay, so one of the important things for us is that we are going to have a date night, and we've set out what our date night is every month. It's the second Saturday of the month, but now we need to get the babysitter for next month. So, talking about, okay, our date night's going to be the 14th of next month, so I'll work on getting the babysitter, and then maybe you're talking to about I don't know, any other big plans.
Can I jump
maybe
in
you're
on
getting
the
together.
date
Yeah.
thing? Sorry. So for us, our date night is Tuesday nights. So every Tuesday night when we put the kids to
Our
bed.
inside date night. Yeah.
Right. We're trying to make sure we're planned up for that. But then my encouragement for you as guys is, guys, take the point on, even if you have a weekly thing like internally like that where you're going to hang out at home, take the lead on getting some go out date nights on a somewhat regular basis too, right? Maybe it's monthly if you've got a million kids like we do, or maybe it's more frequently than that if you can swing it. But regularly, and guys, you take the lead on that, because it means the world to our wives if we take the time
But
to
ladies,
plan
you should
that
be
and
getting
cover
some
that.
planning done too on that too.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. So you're planning your dates. You're maybe planning when you're going to get together with friends. So one of our goals for this year is to spend more time with our friends. And so in a monthly scheduling meeting, we would talk about, okay, well, next month, who are we going to get together with, and when does that work for our schedule, and what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So maybe we're just going to have some friends over for dinner, and who knows? It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but making sure that you're talking about that. What is it going to be exactly, and who are we going to ask?
Right, and that's where the yearly to monthly transition comes in beneficial, right? Is we might decide, hey, let's try and hang out with a couple friend at least once a month, right? That's a yearly goal. But then the monthly is, okay, let's look at January and decide when can we slot that in. It's going to be the 22nd. Great. Who should we have? Jack and Sally, great. Send her a text message or him a text message, and let's see if they're available. And if not, we won't be friends with them anymore.
Right. And usually, by the way, this is best to do like 2 weeks ish before the month that you're talking about, to do your monthly meeting. Not like the beginning of the month, but because it's already started, but a couple weeks before that month starts.
Right.
So then, best talk about goal setting real quick.
Yeah.
Like how you're doing. if let's take the marathon example. If your goal is to run a marathon in September, are you keeping up with that plan? How is that? Does something need to change?
Yep.
Is that becoming a struggle in some way? How can we support each other?
Right.
You know, is there scheduling changes there?
That's where owning the fact that it's the two of you running a marathon, to use this example we're using, helps.
Right.
Because otherwise, if the person who actually has to run is, they might start feeling like, I don't really want to do this. And having, knowing your spouse well enough to be able to encourage her and say, no, you were so excited about this. Let's, how can we pivot in our schedule to try and help you out? What's wrong? Is it that you were running in the morning and now, man, that's a really difficult thing because you've got a baby that's up all hours of the night? Can we shift things around?
Yes,
or,
that is
what's,
difficult.
what's the deal? What's the deal there? But that's where the monthly comes in. It's those pivots that you need to make throughout the year to stay on track.
And details too. So maybe you said, oh, we're having our 1-year-old, or our baby is having his 1-year birthday in February. So now we're just talking about, okay, when's the details? When's the party going to be? And what are we going to be doing and all that sort of thing. So talking about some details.
Yep.
And then again, maybe service details. If you've decided there's a service activity that you want to do, you're getting those details firmed up.
It's great.
Okay. And then the last thing is your weekly scheduling meetings,
right?
Which are always super fast. For us, at least. So those are more like, hey, what's going on this week in the schedule? Just so that we're taking a quick look over it.
Right.
And making sure that we're on the same page with that. So
yeah, and for us, that generally happens on Sunday nights after the Marriage by Design Live that we do. Is we just take a quick run through the schedule. I take a look at, it isn't even just personally, right? Because you have access to my work calendar as well. So we go through and think about, okay, what's going on this week with the work calendar. We have access to our church staff calendar as well. So what's going on? There are things that we need to be involved in this week for our church. What things do we have going on personally? We just kind of, we get ready to go so that we know, hey, Monday morning we're ready to hit the ground running and we're comfortable that we're on the same page.
Yep. And maybe that in that talking about that schedule, that weekly schedule, you need to find, we need to add things in or take things out. Maybe it's like, whoa, somehow we messed up and there's too much in this. We need to take things out and maybe delay. Or, it's the last month of the week and we have like nothing going on, or the last month of the week, the last week of the month, we have nothing going on and we have tons of money in our entertainment budget left over. So let's do a family date night out somewhere to somewhere fun, whatever.
We always put our kids together on the last month of the week.
Yeah, we had some really funny sayings this one.
That's how we roll.
So
talking is good.
So those are some of the things that we're talking about in that one, that weekly meeting. And again, it's always really fast and it's a nice quick check-in.
Yeah.
So
it's great.
And then I'm able to see Nathan, like Nathan was saying, this maybe should go in the tools, but I'm able to see his...
Just call me?
tool. No. I'm able to see his work schedule. So if there's something that I need to plan for, like a dentist appointment for myself or whatever, I see his work schedule and when he's available and can schedule around that so that he can hopefully then, be home with the kids.
That's right.
For those weekly things. So those are some things that we're talking about in our really quick weekly meeting about schedules.
Yes, you can see like the yearly thing is turning the Titanic.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's the big, we're going to set the direction of the year. Then the monthly are small, little, hey, we thought we were going this direction, but we need to just pivot that just a little bit. In some cases, there might be some major things, right? I mean, you might get to June and you might sit down in that monthly meeting and you both just go, we are doing too much. And we've had those meetings where then you need to sit down and say,
this doesn't work for us.
Okay, probably is going to take both of you humbling yourselves a little bit and deciding, okay, what needs to go, and not being afraid to pull the trigger on that.
Right.
And even if that means some ministry commitments you have might need to take, back burner for a while. God's not calling you to do something in ministry that's going to wreck your marriage. So if you're feeling like, hey, this thing we're involved in is just completely driving us apart, that's not from the Lord. So, you be serious about that
Right.
in those meetings and make changes that you need to make.
Right. Yep.
Sometimes those meetings are a really good time to have your mentor couple over as well, to talk through some things with you.
Sure.
And maybe make some suggestions and go from there.
Sure. In those weekly ones, I was just thinking, and those become super important for us in the baseball season.
Yeah.
When baseball is going on like all the time, but we're still trying to get that family time together, especially at the dinner table.
Yep.
So it may be like, oh, we have baseball 5 nights this week. We're going to need to do dinner at 4:45 this day and at 5:00 this day, or 7:30 this day, whatever. So
Right.
we're having those conversations like, hey, Nathan, you need to come home a little bit early today so that we can have dinner together, or we're not having dinner together this day. We're just gonna,
Yeah, I mean, that's the deal.
Eat
Yep.
quick while we're on the run. But
Totally.
those are the times where we're talking about, schedule how we're working our schedule to still fit what we need to do as a family.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
okay,
Good.
so then let's talk a little bit about tools. What are some tricks or some tools that we can use along the way to make this work for us and make things a little bit easier? So one thing we found, of course, is keeping a schedule on our devices online. I love paper schedules because I love seeing them, but they're super impractical.
Right.
I know a couple people who still keep a paper schedule, and it's hard for them to schedule things with friends or whatever because they don't always have it, or they don't know what their husband's doing or whatever. So
Yeah, for us, it's not a practical solution.
Definitely for us, it's not practical to have anything else other than a schedule that we can access all the time. So we have a Google Calendar that is a culmination of like everything
Yep.
going on for us. It's his work schedule and our together schedule and my individual schedule, and it works so well.
Yep.
And we have, of course, so we use different colors for different things. He has a color for his work stuff, so I know that doesn't have anything to do with me.
But you like to know it.
But I like
because
to
you
know
what
and know
I'm up to and
kind of what he's up to, but know like if I need to schedule something around that when
Yep.
that is.
Yep.
We have a color that's for the two of us, things that we're doing together.
Yep.
Or me individually. So it works out really great to have that, because then we're always on the same page and we always know what's going on.
Right. So here's a tip. As you use your calendar, electronic calendar specifically, I would encourage you in the yearly meeting to set some keywords for the year. Now, what do I mean by that? For Andrew and I, to use a couple of examples, 2 of our keywords are friends and couples. So every Monday night, I get together with one of my best friends and we hang out and play games and talk about life and smoke a cigar, do whatever we feel like doing that week. And so that's on our calendar for every Monday night. And I have put it in there as friend in all capital, friend, and then dash, game night or whatever I'm going to call it. So what's the same thing if Andrea does something that's her with her friends, right? Not the 2 of us with another couple, but her with her friends. In the same way, if we're going to do something together with another couple, we'll put couple in all caps at the beginning of that, and then dash, Jack and Sally at whatever restaurant or whatever we're going to do. What's the purpose of doing that? Well, this is us forward thinking toward the review that we're going to do at the end of the year, so that we can go back in our Google Calendar for us and run a search for couple. And it will pull up everything in our calendar from the year that has that keyword in it. Well, why do we do that? Well, we shared with you a minute ago that we have a goal of, as a couple, getting together with more couples this year. We're pretty good about getting together with friends individually, which we've grown a lot in over the years, but we've not been as good as we'd like to be about getting out with other couples, which is weird because a lot of times the friends that I'm hanging out with are married to the friends that you're hanging out with. We just don't get together a lot as couples. I think it's partly because we all have young kids, and it's easier for me to get together with him while she watches the kids and vice versa. But anyway, here's the point. I can run that search at the end of the year and we can go, okay, we had a goal of getting together with more couples. How many times did we actually do it? And it will pull it right up and we can go, man, we sucked from this time to this time about getting together with couples, or whatever the case may be. Helps us to plan for the next year.
Yep.
So I would encourage you to do that. Baseball is another keyword that's a keyword in our schedule.
Yes.
And dance. Some of those big things where we might want to go back and look. And another one we haven't talked about yet, but I'd love to have one this year for getting when you take the kids and do go to the zoo or whatever, because again then we can go back and look and see how much that did we get to do. So
our
exactly,
children's museum membership and all
exactly that. ROI nailing it right now.
Another tool that we have found to be helpful is we have a magnetic calendar that goes on our refrigerator. It's just one big magnet and it's a dry erase.
1 month, one
month at a time. Yep. So we put things on there that are for our kids to know.
Yep.
So, things that they're going to be involved in, we've just found that it's really helpful for them to kind of know what's going on and know what to expect. Kids work really well when they know what's expected of them.
Yeah.
And so being able to see on Thursday this week, whatever. I have dance, and then we have baseball, and just so that they know what to expect for those days of the week is great. So we have this calendar, and I use different dry erase markers for different, the kids are all a different color, so they know if pink is, if for Ryan, purple. If purple's on there, I've got something going on that day. So
even if she can't read, she knows. Okay,
right.
I got a thing today.
Right. Just so that she knows something involves her.
Right.
So, then she'll usually ask. So that's been helpful for us.
Yep.
In having a schedule the kids kind of understand.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've seen in the past, maybe not every day, but you're good about circling the day we're on, or somehow outlining the day that we're on right now, so that it's easy for them to find out.
You can cross out the old dates.
Yeah, there you go. Crossing out. Yeah, that's good. Crossing out the old days. So. Yeah, that's good. I agree with that totally. The other one that I would throw out there is having an app like we at least I use Todoist, which is it's like a to-do app, but lets you schedule all of those, and those can be integrated into your calendar if you like to do that. I don't integrate them into our Google Calendar, but I love having that, and you can set recurring things. So where this works into managing my time is things that I'm apt to forget, like paying the mortgage, and those types of things that just gets to be the beginning
taking
of
out
the month,
the trash,
and
changing the furnace filter.
Yeah,
I mean, right? Tons of things that are recurring.
Right, those types of things. The reason I bring that up now's the time to set all of those in an app like Todoist for the whole year.
Yep.
Right, so that you don't forget those sporadic things that need to be done.
For sure. Great.
It's good. Anything else, baby?
I don't have any other tips, tricks, or tools.
Awesome. What tips or tricks do you guys have? What do you use for managing your calendar? Do you have a joint calendar, or do you have a his and hers calendar? And if so, how do you manage syncing up between the two of you? Love to hear your thoughts, tips, tricks on that. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Remember, we will have a Family Friday episode coming out this Friday. This particular Friday, it's going to be our New Year holiday card.
Yes.
So we have not done a Christmas card. Instead, we are doing a virtual electronic New Year's card, which will come out on Friday. In addition, we'll be sending that out to family and friends and other people that we want to bless with making them listen to us talk about our lives for the last year. So that's fun. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining us. So glad you are here. And remember, God is for your marriage.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Marriage by Design. If you were impacted by this video, like it by hitting the thumbs up below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and once you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when new episodes release.
Excellent. Also, one of the huge pillars of our show is interactivity between us and you. So we would love you to comment down in the comments below if you have thoughts about this video, or if you have questions or other things you'd like to see considered in the future. In addition, if you'd like, you can email us. That's marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram @marriagebydesignpodcast, or you can find us on Facebook by searching Marriage by Design Podcast. Finally, if you want to, you can tweet at us. We do have a Twitter account that is @MarriageXDesign. Thanks, and have a great day.